this here also. A very warm welcome and good afternoon to all the dignitaries and faculty members. Today we all gathered here to celebrate the Engineers Day. In India, this day is celebrated by the engineering fraternity on 15 September every year. The date was selected because it is the birthday of the legendary engineer Dr. Moksha Gundam Vishveshwaraya. He is also known as the greatest engineers of all the times, who with his vision and dedication in the field of engineering made some exceptional contribution in India. In 1955, he was made a Bharat Ratna, the gem of India. So with this brief background of the Engineering Day, now I would like to invite Director Sir to please come on stage and say some few words.
आवाज आएगी? हेलो 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 अच्छा दोनों एक गुड आफ्टरनून all of you. Today we are celebrating Engineers Day. So I think most of us are engineers and we can congratulate each other. So why we are celebrating this Engineers Day? As Madam told us, we throughout history there have been notable engineers and inventors who have changed the way we live through their creation and innovations. Science can amuse and fascinate us all, but it is engineering that changes the world. Next. The concept of engineering has existed since ancient times. Since ancient times means we invented wheel, pulley, lever. These are based on engineering concepts. So we can say the engineering concept is very old, but at that moment the engineering word was not there. It is, though everybody was doing some engineering, but the word engineering was not there. Each of these inventions is consistent with the modern definition of engineering, exploiting basic mechanical principles to develop useful tools and objects. These tools were developed, though based on the engineering, but nobody was knowing that the word of engineering. The term engineering itself has a much more recent etymology. It was added later on. It is derived from the word engineer, which itself dates back to 1325. 1325, the engineer word came into existence. An engineer literally means one who operates an engine. Actually, in the starting, the person who was operating engine, mostly in the military, they were called as engineers. There were two types of engineers initially. One who belonged to military, they were called as military engineers, and later on the word came into existence that non-military person were called civil engineers. And thus the civil engineering came into existence first, in the very first, it's only there was two types of engineers. One was army engineers, military engineers, and the second one was civil engineers. Non-military person were called as civil engineers. The next thing is the word engine, not engineer. Engine itself is of even older origin, ultimately deriving from the Latin ingenium. It came into existence in 1250. This means innate quality, especially mental power, hence a clever invention. This means the person who was born as talented person are called, initially the person who are talented, born talented, were called as engineers. And the person who creates something or has some creativity, this types of person were called engineers. Later, as the design of civil structure such as bridges and building matured as a technical discipline, just I told you that civil engineers came into existence when the bridges, etc., these things came into existence, then they were called as civil engineers apart from the military engineers. Then the term civil engineering entered the lexicon as a way to distinguish between those specializing in the construction of such non-military projects and those involved in the older discipline of military engineering. The military engineer or civil engineer. And later on, mechanical engineering, civil engineering, electrical engineering, these words came into existence. Next. Now, many days, one motifs. Engineers' Day is observed in several countries on various dates of the year. Okay? As of the 20th November 2019, the World Federation of Engineering Organization has designated March 4th as World Engineers' Day for a sustainable world. Means in different countries, the Engineers' Day were celebrated on different dates. But in 2019, it was decided by World Federation of Engineering Organization to celebrate the 20th November as a, 4th March as a Engineers' Day. Next. These are the different dates. Argentina, 16 June, Australia. These are different dates for the different country as they are celebrating the Engineers' Day on these dates. Next. But in India, we are celebrating Engineers' Day on the 15th of September. Okay? This celebration is a tribute to the greatest engineer Bharat Ratna, Mokshagundam Visvesvaraya. This is celebrated on the birthday of Mokshagundam, Bharat Ratna Mokshagundam Visvesvaraya. Whose role of engineering in developing India is the role of engineering in developing India is the theme of Engineers' Day of 2017. Mokshagundam Visvesvaraya, born on 15 September 1861 in Modenhalli, near, it is in Mysore, now it is in Karnataka. He went to become India's most prolific civil engineer, dam builder, economist, statesman. He can be counted among the last century's foremost nation builder. M. Visvesvaraya was also the Diwan of Mysore from 1912 to 1918. He was the chief engineer responsible for the construction of Krishna Raja's Sagar Dam in Mysore. The Krishna Raja Sagar Dam is in Mysore, the biggest in Asia at that time. This was the biggest dam at that time when it was built. He was the chief engineer of the flood protection system for the city of Hyderabad. Due to his outstanding contribution to society, Government of India conferred Bharat Ratna on this legend in the year 1955. He was born in 1860 and he died in 1962 after 102 years. He was also awarded the British knighthood of King George by King George V. Next. His birthday, 15 September, is celebrated as Engineers' Day. He also designed and patented the automatic weir water floodgates, first installed in Khadagwasla Reservoir in Pune, 1903. He transformed the Mysore estate into what was known as the model estate. For his numerous industrial, economic and social projects, he was called the father of modern Mysore. He was also known for his contribution to harnessing water resources Visvesvaraya was, among other things, responsible for building and consolidation of dams across the country. He is also credited with inventing the block system, automated doors that close in the condition of overflow of the dams. His inventive engineering works saved the Visakhapatnam fort from the sea erosion. Visvesvaraya established Government Engineering College in 1917 in Bengaluru, which was later named Visvesvaraya College of Engineering in his honor. Thank you. One more thing, one story is related to Mr. Bharat Ratna M. Visvesvaraya, that once he was traveling in the train, and in the night, he woke up and stopped the train by pulling the chain. So everybody collected and asked him why he has done so. He told that there is some fault in the line, in the rail line, and everybody was scolding him that he is telling lie. But after that, some guard and everyone stepped down from the train and checked that there was some fault in the railway. There were some railway cracks. Then they came back, and then he told that I am Visvesvaraya. Then everybody, that it means that he was such a great scientist, but just by hearing the cracking noise of the train, he came to know that there was some fault. So he was a great scientist and engineer. Thank you.
To the life of the Gem of India. Now, taking this program forward, I would like to invite our first speaker for today's program, Ms. Rini Tiwari from Biotechnology Department.
A very good afternoon to the respected director, sir, respected all the department HOD members and all the faculty members and staff. I wish you all a very happy Engineers Day. My name is Rini Tiwari and I'm here to represent my department, that is Department of Biotechnology. And today I will be sharing you some information regarding biotechnology, like current status of biotechnology in India and what all achievements we have done in our department in this institute and our future goals. So before starting with the presentation, I would like to tell a brief introduction about biotechnology, that what is biotechnology. I read a phrase somewhere, please. I read a phrase that our world was built in biology, but once we start understanding it, it became technology. That is biotechnology. That is, in a very simple terms, biotechnology is any technological application that involves living organisms, biological systems or their derivatives to create or modify any process or any product that is beneficial for us as well as for our surroundings. That is biotechnology. Now the rainbow of biotechnology. As biotechnology is a very vast field, so it is divided into various disciplines and each discipline is given a color code. Some of them I have mentioned here, like green. Green represents agriculture. Agriculture is green biotech represents agriculture. Agriculture means in biotechnology, development of new plant varieties that are resistant to certain infectious insects and they increase the crop productivity. Next is red. Red biotech represents biopharmacy. That is development of new vaccines, development of new diagnostic tools and techniques, developments of new antibiotics, new drugs that are capable of curing the diseases. Then is white. White focuses on industries, industrial biotechnology, which means that utilizing less resources and producing energy efficient products and processes that are useful for us as well as less polluting, that is, it does not affect our environment. Next is gray. The color gray represents Environmental protection, which means protecting our environment, that is use of microorganism to remove pollutants from air, soil, water and save the biodiversity. Next is blue. As the color suggests, blue represents water, that is marine life. Utilizing the marine resources to produce certain products that are beneficial for us as well as without hindering the marine life. Next. Now the status of biotechnology. Now the status of biotechnology in India. India is the world's largest producer of hepatitis B vaccine as well as it is the largest supplier of hepatitis B vaccine. India is the largest producer of BT cotton. BT cotton is a genetically modified plant that was introduced in India in the year 2002, and the main idea behind this was to protect the plant crop from the insecticide bollworm that is responsible for causing infection in the cotton variety. Next, India is the world's largest US FDA approved plant. It has the largest, and India has around 2,700 plus biotech startups, and we are expecting to go around 10,000 biotech companies more in the year 2024. In the coming 5 years, India biotech economy can reach up to $150 billion. And India is the also global supplier of certain vaccines for diphtheria, BCG and measles. Now this graph represents the biotechnology sector in India. Around 75% of the Indian sector is covered by biopharmacy, 9% is covered by bioservices, 7% for bioagriculture, 7% as well as for industrial, and 2% for bioinformatics, that is computational analysis. Now about our department in this institute. Our department was established in the year 2013. We have a mission and a vision for our department. The vision of our department is to impart exceptional education and excellent environment to the students so that they can compete in the professional world. We guide them. The mission, we have 3 missions. First, to provide a better biotech program. Second, to aware the students about the biotechnology potentials and to train them. Third is to train the biotech professionals so that they can compete in the outside world. Now our key features of our department, we have 10 qualified faculty members, we have 3 dedicated associated staff, we have funded research projects from the government organization, we have 7 dedicated well-furnished laboratories, we have around 150 plus undergraduate students studying in this program, and we have a dedicated research team, those who are prepared for every kind of research work. Next. If I talk about our biotechnology lab, as I mentioned, we have 7 well-furnished labs. There are certain equipments that are available in our laboratories. First is laminar airflow. It is used in the field of microbiology. PCR machine for amplification of DNA. ELISA plate reader for immunological purposes. Fermenter for bioprocess. Gel electrophoresis for analysis of DNA, transilluminator to visualize the DNA, UV visible spectrophotometer to do qualitative and quantitative analysis of proteins and amino acids, and many more. Our achievements. If we talk about our achievements, last year we published 5 research papers which were indexed in Scopus and SCI. We filed 2 patents. We did collaborative research work with some highly reputed government organizations like KGMU, BHU, etc. We got 2 products. The final year students of our department developed 2 products. One was herbal tea and was biocomposed, and we are taking to a pilot scale level also. We got 3 government funded projects for amount 3,40,000, and we self-generated a fund from 3 consultancies and generated 3 lakh rupees for the research. We also submitted DNA sequence, 4 DNA sequences in NCBI USA database. Now our targets that we have to achieve till next year. We have to publish 3 books. The work is still going on and hopefully we will complete it. We have a target to publish 8 research papers in good journals indexed in Scopus and SCI. To get a government funded project for rupees 10 lakh, the proposal has already been submitted. And to generate consultancy fund from around 6 lakh rupees from some consultancies, and to submit 5 new DNA sequences in NCBI database, and to generate 4 MOU for commercial research activities with government organizations, and to organize 10 guest lectures so that we can interact with the outside world. This is the testimonial of some of the students of our department who have expressed their gratitude towards the institute and the department, and they shared their experience that what they have learned from here and what they have experienced from this institute and our department. At last, I would like to acknowledge Director Sir, Chairman Sir, Chief Proctor Sir, for their valuable suggestions and support throughout the year, and a special mention thanks to HOD Sir Dr. Anupam Singh and Ashish Rai Sir for the creation of this PPT. I was only the presenter. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, ma'am, for a wonderful presentation. Reaching the last mile is the objective of growth. Good afternoon to one and all present here. I am Vipandeep Kaur, representing Electrical Engineering Department. We all have gathered here to talk on Engineers Day. Well, an engineer is one who bridges the gap between the scientific innovations and societal needs. So, talking about developing nation like India, the challenge is to make modern energy systems available to millions of people who are not even approachable. Secondly, India has to cope with environmental unsustainability that has resulted from unplanned industrialization, and we have to design such systems that have low carbon emission. Now, if we take both the issues simultaneously, the long-term environmental sustainability is often overshadowed by people's need of energy, and that is an immediate concern. So what we are trying to do, we are trying to cover both the challenges together. We need to come up with indigenous renewable energy resources, and we have to reduce local forms of pollution. The requirement is to restructure the entire power sector and to implement the policies that were only proposed. So, since we are talking about the impact of electricity in development, let's have a look at the milestones that India has achieved so far. So in 1947, we were generating only 1362 megawatt. Few of the urban centers were available, and the main source of generation were hydro and coal-based thermal power plants. At that time, we had only private utilities supplying power. One of them is still in existence and is known by the name of Calcutta Electric. Then we moved in 1948, where the Electricity Supply Act was introduced, and it facilitated rapid development. State electricity boards and central electricity authorities were created. Then in 1975, NTPC and NHPC came in picture for setting up large power projects. Then in 1989, we had National Power Transmission Corporation with the aim of interstate and interregional transmission systems. In 1991, the Act of 1948 was amended and the private utilities came into picture. In 1992, the NTPC was renamed as Power Grid Corporation of India. Later in 1995, the initiative to create mega power projects was introduced, and the power trading policy was introduced to monitor and guide these mega power projects. Then the central regulatory commissions and state electricity regulatory commissions came into picture, and later in 1998, what we had, the transmission utility, it was made a separate entity, and we had the central transmission utility and state transmission utility. And here are we today in 2020, starting from just 1300 megawatt. Today, India is the third largest producer of electricity and third largest consumer of electricity. We have total installed capacity of 372 gigawatt. Presently, 87% of the Indian villages are electrified. So the bulk of power that we were producing so far, or we will produce in future, that power needs to be channelized. So central government and state governments, they come up with some policies in order to provide reliable, affordable and quality power to consumers. So I have listed few of the policies, that is Rajiv Gandhi Gram Jyoti Yojana, Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gram Jyoti Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Sahaj Bijli Har Ghar Yojana, and many of these. And from these policies, 64 to 88% of people got benefited. Ranging from students to farmers, it touched almost every part of the society. Many micro, small and medium enterprises came into picture, and that led us towards what we aim at making today, Atmanirbhar Bharat. So a lot has been done, but a lot is yet to be achieved. We have a power for all policy of Government of India. Power for all policy that focuses on every household should have an electricity connection. Then the roadmap of generation, what we are to achieve in near future. India is targeted to achieve 175 gigawatt of generation in renewable energy fields and 300 to 440 generation capacity of coal-based thermal power plants. So we cannot skip the global transition of moving towards the greener and cleaner sources of energy, or we cannot simply ignore the sustainable development that we are moving towards. So I have just listed two of the major developments that are going. One of them is a smart grid and electric vehicle. Not going into the engineering, deep engineering of smart grid, but what a smart grid is doing, it is very strategically using electricity. Like it is very strategically using electricity and immediately restoring the supply after a fault. Smart metering, real-time dynamic pricing are some of the applications of smart grid. And one of the most important application of these smart grids is that a consumer can even sell the excess power generated with the help of a small windmill or a small photovoltaic panel. So this leads to the development of deregularized or decentralized generation. That is very important concept as it helps us to reduce the transmission losses. So with the help of these smart grids, we are moving towards decentralized generation. Then we have the electric vehicles. So we are moving towards the electric powered vehicles from conventional IC engines. So if we talk of the status of electric vehicles in our country, the National Electric Mobility Mission of 2020, it provides various incentives and schemes to the on the purchase of these electric vehicles. But there are many challenges right now that we are facing in the complete adoption of these electric vehicle systems, and for sure they are to be tackled in the near future. Now, if we talk of some interdisciplinary innovations where we blend the skills of various other engineering backgrounds as well, so we are moving towards the better ways to obtain, store and utilize electrical energy. I have listed very few of the examples, like we have artificial intelligence, or we have prefabricated products, wireless transmissions, we have IoT, Internet of Things, we have beta voltaics and many others. There is always a long way to go, and I would like to end my talk with the Robert Frost writing, "Woods are indeed lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep and to go miles before I sleep." So we have to do a lot, but a lot has been done. Thank you all.
A very good afternoon to everyone. On behalf of staff and faculty members of Civil Engineering Department, I am here to represent my Civil Engineering Department. Engineers Day is dedicated to those. Without them, any machine would not have been made. A day dedicated to those. Without them, no one would have been able to fly. No one would have been able to make their homes. No one would have been able to watch television. No one would have been able to communicate with the long distance. So from mobile phone to airplane, television to satellite, everything is possible because of the engineers like us. Every day, a new technology comes and to take human to the next level, to give them from their basic desires to their basic needs. The dams built by Mokshadam Vishveshwaraya are still functional. Even today, the testimony of his brilliance, skill, honesty and dedication. So, 15th of September, Engineers Day 2020 is quite a remarkable tribute to the greatest engineer, civil engineer, Bharat Ratna Mokshadam Vishveshwaraya. Civil engineering is the term for the work of designing and building infrastructure, means large structures like bridges, dams, canals, etc. Our branch deals with the complicated network such as water, irrigation, sewage network. It majorly deals with the construction of residential buildings, commercial, industrial setups, etc. It involves all the stages in life, infrastructure from planning, construction to maintenance and demolition. Civil engineers are responsible for lots of the things that are required for a society to function properly, including safe water supply, sewage treatment, roads, railways and buildings are all part of civil engineers. There are many different areas, discipline. Some important areas are the first is environmental engineering, transportation engineering, structural engineering, surveying and geomatics, building planning, construction and geotechnical engineering. First of all, let me introduce with the environmental engineering. The environmental engineer deals with the pollution control and public health engineering. Also deals with the technology and facility which are engaged in reducing pollution, which are engaged in reducing, not only in reducing pollution, it deals with the designing and construction and maintenance of the sewage treatment plant, water distribution network, and also with the solid waste management in towns and cities. Transportation engineer deals with the it is another important need, providing good and economical road links. It involves designing and construction of bridges, tunnels, etc. Railway, highway, airport and harbour are another important long-way transport facilities. Structural engineering. Here the engineers are trained to design the bones and the muscle that create the shape of man-made structures. It understands and calculates the stability, strength, and rigidity and earthquake-resisting buildings. They design the slab, beam, columns, the most important parts to build a building structure. Surveying and geomatics. This branch is the discipline of gathering, storing, processing, and delivering specially referred information. It encompasses the fields of surveying, mapping, remote sensing, photogrammetry, hydrography, global positioning system, geographic information system. Building planning and construction. This branch deals with all the building plans are the set of drawings which consist of floor plan, site plan, cross sections, elevation, electrical, plumbing, and landscapes drawings for the ease of construction at the site. Drawings are the medium of passing the views and the concept of architect or designer into reality, like the designing of floor, windows, and doors. Geotechnical engineering, Geotechnical engineering. Here the engineer deals with the study of behavior of the soil under the influence of loading, forces, and soil-water interactions. This helps in designing of foundation, retaining wall, etc. Here are the few modern construction by the civil engineers. The first is Burj Khalifa, the most famous, tallest building. It is a skyscraper in Dubai with a total height of 830 meters. It has been the tallest structure and the building in the whole worldwide since 2009. Next. And next is Palm Jumeirah. Tree-shaped Palm Jumeirah is a posh apartment towers and market globe restaurant. Total area covered is 5.72 kilometers square. It was created using land reclamation. Next is self-healing concrete. Crack formation is a commonly observed phenomenon in concrete structure. It produces biologically limestone to heal cracks that appears on the surface of the concrete structure. These are the very few examples. A lot of are still getting developed. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Channa Pandey from Electronics and Communication Department, and here I am going to present a topic in front of you, that is impact of electronics on developing India. So first of all, I would like to throw some light on the present scenario of electronics industry in India. At present, almost 65% of electronics we are currently importing, and only 25 to 30% of the electronic systems we are assembling, and less than 10% of the electronics are being manufactured and designed by India. So we are less manufacturing, we are doing less manufacturing in the field of electronics. So due to which, what happens, there is a huge gap has been developed between the demand and supply of present India, and till 2020, about $300 billion, this much gap has been developed. So if we see the present trend, in present market, in about 2020, most of the electronic products, they are capturing a huge market, like LED, which is also an electronic system, LED and telecom equipments, laptop, these all capturing the market with sufficient amount of, capital, like $35 billion and $34 billion. So such huge amount of market span is captured by the electronics industry. But as we are not producing or as we are not manufacturing electronics in India, that is why we are importing electronics. And in importing the electronics products, India, after crude and oil, India imports electronics products. So electronics importing comes third, next to the crude and gold import in India. So what are the strengths? First of all, as I said that there is a lot of gap. So how we can achieve some target in electronic system by seeing some present scenario of the earth, of the India. We can see there is certain strengths available for India. Like we have a huge consumption market. In India, we have huge population, we have huge electronics product demands. So we are